Okay guys, so this is going to be your drill press introduction and safety video. We have two drill press in the shop. We have this smaller cabinet top one and this much larger floor model. Much bigger motor on this one. We will use this one for certain projects, but most of the time you'll use this guy right here. I'm going to go ahead and go over the different parts. We're going to go over the safety information, and then you'll be ready to take your safety test on the drill press. First thing I want to do, guys, is show you some of the different attachments or drill bits that you're going to be using in a drill press. The most common thing you're going to use is what's called a twist bit. As you can see, it twists like this, right? And it has a cutting end. All this actually is part of the cutting process as well, but this is the really sharp side. This is going to be for making your typical hole. Of course, all these come in various sizes. Let's go with this one next. This is called a spade bit, usually used in construction, and it's made for making holes that don't need to be super nice, but they need to happen fast. Okay, so this will tear through a 2x4 really fast. This is a 1/2 inch one. They're usually labeled like this. Again, they come in many different sizes. If you do want a really nice hole, a really clean looking hole, this is what you want to go with. This is called a Forstner bit. It's going to make little shavings. This one pretty much just obliterates the wood and turns it into just crazy sawdust. This one will actually shave the wood up here with these. These are the real cutting edges right here. These can be extremely sharp, so we like to keep these with the cover on them. Okay, so the next thing that we have here is called a hole saw. This one's missing there's usually a twist bit to get it started in the middle like this. I have a nice set of these in the closet. It's kind of a bigger hole, so as you can see around the perimeter here, around the circumference, there is what looks just like a saw blade, and so that's where it gets its name. It's a saw that saws a hole. These are not usually, you're not going to find one that's in the smaller range like this, so these are for making much bigger holes, and it's going to come out with a piece of wood that's stuck in the middle of this saw. And so these slits here in the side are so you can get a tool like usually a screwdriver and pry that piece of wood out. Usually we'll use this on a hand drill, but you could put it into a drill press as well. So that's the kind of the fourth option we have for cutting holes. Up at the very top, you'll see there's a speed adjustment lever right here. You guys don't really need to mess with this, but something you do need to know is that if it ever is going to get moved, the tool needs to be running. Only change speed while tool is running. And that's because the way that this thing works is back here in the back, this is your electric motor, is fairly large, and it has a spindle up here. You can't see, it spins, and attached to that spindle is a series of pulleys or rubber belts that are going to come up here and attach to this spindle right here, which eventually is going to spin your drill bit. And this right here will change the ratio between the different gears, and that eventually changes the speed of the drill bit. So I'm going to preset the speed of your drill bit for you. You do not need to worry about that, but please, if for some reason you are adjusting this, make sure you don't adjust it unless the machine is running. Okay? Moving on to the next important part of the drill press, we have the wheel. This is called the wheel. This is what's going to lower your drill bit into your material. It is on a spring mechanism, so if I were to take my hand off, it's going to snap back to its upward position. So one of the safety rules is when it's time to retract it, you need to retract it all the way through its range of motion. Don't let it snap back. Please help it return safely and softly to its resting spot. Here's your on and off switch. It is a toggle on and off, right? So if I press on, it's going to stay on. You have to go ahead and press off to make it go off. I know that sounds a bit dumb, but or like obvious, but there are other tools like this one where it only stays on when you're pulling the trigger. So I just make that distinction. So this saw is not plugged in right now. If I were to pull the trigger, the saw would come on, and then if I release the trigger, it automatically goes off. This tool is different. This tool, or this part of the saw right here, is called the chuck. There are 3 pieces of metal that kind of are triangular shaped, and as you tighten the chuck, those pieces of metal come out and they get closer together, and it's that tension that holds your cutting tool in place. Now you don't need to make any adjustments to the chuck without permission, but I do want you to know how it works. Usually, guys, I keep saying don't make any adjustments to this tool without permission because they're usually set up for a particular project, okay? So I do need you to know, how it works, though. Right here I have what's called a chuck key. Well, you can just kind of see the different parts. This part right here is going to slip into one of 3 different holes on this chuck, and then you can see those gears on the chuck key and the chuck, they come into interaction with each other, and then you just kind of twist it like it's a screwdriver, and that tension will come off, your drill bit will slip out. Now, to put a drill bit in there and tighten it, I always start by using my hand to tighten it. Okay, that will be opening it. This is tightening it. I always use my hand to start the tightening process, and then come in with the chuck key to just snug it down in place. Make sure, because your chuck key is going to give you leverage, right? A mechanical advantage, just like a screwdriver will give you. And so you want to use that to go ahead and tighten it the rest of the way down. It's important that it is tight, which is why I want to make sure that I'm the one that goes ahead and changes these drill bits out. If it's not tight and you turn this on, the cutting tool can slip out and it can cause injury. All right, classes, I'm going to go ahead and tell you my 2 scary stories about the drill press to motivate you to use it safely, okay? First of all, there was a teacher of middle school technology course, just like this one, that I know personally. And what happened was, of no fault of his own, he did all the safe things correctly, and he still got injured, okay? Now, don't be overly scared. That doesn't mean you should never use a drill press. What it means is you need to understand how it works, so that and what could go wrong with it, so that you can make sure that you are putting your body in a safe position, okay? So he was using a Forstner bit, and it was a very large Forstner bit. I think it was 2 or 3 inches across, really big, and he was making a hole with it. Now, it was up here in his drill press. It was in an older drill press, and unbeknownst to him, this spindle part was slightly out of center. So if you ever turn on the drill press and you notice that it's a little bit wobbly, your drill bit is a little bit wobbly, you might not think it's that big of a deal. And honestly, with a smaller drill bit, it probably isn't that big of a deal. But with a large drill bit like he was using a Forstner bit like this. And just imagine this circle being really big, like 3 times as big. What happened was, he had his safety glasses on, he had everything tight up in here, everything was good. But the cutting wheel, this sharp portion at the bottom, it snapped and separated from the metal shank here. Because of that rotational momentum, lots and lots of energy, and it being not perfectly straight, just slightly off, it snapped the metal down here. So that big, sharp metal cutting wheel, spinning at a very high rate of speed, was thrown at him, and it hit him in the arm right here. And now he has a big, nasty scar here, this shop teacher. Now, fortunately, it was not a student that happened to, but, it could have been. This is why I let you guys, use this drill press, make sure we pass the safety test, make sure that you understand how it works, so that you can make sure that your arms are very clear, very far back. I'm going to tell you another story about a much older gentleman who had been working in a shop for his whole career, and he knew his way around the shop. Okay, he knew all the tools, he knew how to do things safely, and he was working by himself, but he said to himself, I just need a quick hole in what I'm doing. So he was working over there, with gloves on. Now you might think gloves are a safety item like safety glasses or hearing protection, but actually, and they are, gloves can definitely help protect your hands from cuts and scrapes and all that, but you need to know when to not use gloves. And that's when you're working with saws, and it's especially when you're going to be working with a drill press, because what he did was, he had gloves on, and he brought his workpiece up like this. So I just need a quick hole. I know what I'm doing. I've used the drill press for a long time. And he's holding the drill, he's holding his work on the drill press table like this, and he lowers the drill bit down. And of course, the drill bit grabs his glove, because your glove is not your hand, right? And so we think, well, my hand is clear, but you can't feel in your body where the edge of that glove is, right? Because it's not attached to your nervous system in your brain. And so he doesn't have the spatial awareness of where his glove is, lowers the drill bit down, it grabs the edge of his glove, and it took his finger off. because it sucked that thing into the drill press. So you can definitely suffer a personal injury on a machine like this. Now, how could he have, in both of these cases, how could both of these safety incidents been avoided? Drill press vise. This right here is a very important feature of a drill press. You need to make sure that you're always using the drill press vise. If the drill press vise is not big enough to accommodate your workpiece, you could also use several clamps like this one to clamp your workpiece to the table. Now, the drill press vise, let's go over some of the components. First thing you need to realize, guys, is that there's an open channel right in the middle of the drill press vise. You need to make sure that after everything is set up, the drill bit of the drill press is going to go through that open channel in the drill press vise. Very important. If you don't, then the drill bit is going to potentially hit this metal, drill a hole in the metal. As you can see, some students have done that, and I do not like my drill bits touching metal. They can drill through metal. We don't drill through a tool for no reason. So you make sure that your thing is lined up. Now, I've put some tape, some pieces of blue tape right here, just as a visual cue to show you. So let's say I wanted to put a hole right there on that X. What I'm going to do is slip my piece of wood into the drill press vise. I need to tighten it down, making sure that that X, my goal for the hole, is in between the two blue pieces of tape like that. So you see there's exposed metal here and here. That's showing me that in this plane right there, it is open, okay? The blue tape is saying, don't drill in this area. So if I were to drill over here, I'd hit metal. If I were to drill over here, I'd hit metal, right? That's where the drill bit's gonna come through on the back side. Please don't drill through metal. The vise is heavy, and it's going to stay in position as you drill all the way through. This is going to be the best way for us to make sure our hands are far back from the wood when we drill all the way through. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate a safe cut for you at this time. Again, several things that need to happen. You make sure that this drill bit is tight, so you can use the chuck key to tighten it down. It should be good to go. I usually take care of that part for you. Then you're going to come over here. I like to stand personally on this side of the machine. That's because I can reach the wheel without anything else getting in my way, and I can reach the on and the off button as well. And I feel like I'm far enough back away from the workpiece, right? From the danger zone here. Of course, the danger zone is anywhere underneath the spindle and the drill bit. Okay. So I've got my safety glasses on. I've made sure that my drill bit is going to hit. I'm lowering the drill bit down non-spinning, so make sure my drill bit is going to hit the target that I want it to. And I know that I'm clearing all the metal. There's also metal on the table of the drill press itself, and that metal table has a clearance hole. You need to make sure that the drill bit is going to go through that clearance hole as well. Again, I should have set that up for you, but it's a good thing to check. Lower it down all the way. Okay, it's going to go through. You also need to make sure that the way that you've got this thing set up is that your drill bit is going to actually drill through your wood. Sometimes people come and they think that they've drilled the hole into their wood, but it hasn't gone all the way through the wood. So just make sure you go all the way through the wood. So we've got everything set up. Check, check, check. We're going to hit the on button. I lowered my drill bit all the way through the piece of wood. When I felt like it had gone all the way through, I retracted the wheel by continuing to hold on to it, okay? Don't drop it. Don't let it snap back, because that will jar a bunch of metal stuff, and we don't want to loosen any screws or anything and end up breaking something on the inside of the drill press. You want to use a vise or clamps to hold the material firmly to the table. Only make adjustments when the drill press is stopped, and only make adjustments when the drill press is stopped and if you have permission. So always ask Mr. Broadway if you think you need to adjust something on the drill press. That includes the speed or the drill bit or the height of the table. These are different things that can be adjusted to suit your needs, but ask before you change something because likely I've got it set up for a certain project already. You need to use the chuck key to tighten the chuck, and again, that's something that I'll handle. If you do want to come up here and check with your hands just to make sure that's tight, that's good, you can definitely do that. Make sure the bit is sharp, straight, and in good condition. Just like anything else, if your drill bit is not sharp, like if your saw blade or your knife is not sharp, then it's not going to do the job very well, and you could end up causing other problems, okay? If you feel like you're cutting with that drill bit and you feel like it's not cutting super well, maybe it's not very sharp, let me know. I'll try to make sure that that doesn't happen for you though. A piece of scrap should be used under the material to prevent tear out. This is a good example of tear out. Now, this bit right here, these fibers of the wood, that really they should still be attached in some places here. And so we've actually kind of caused some damage to the back here. Now, it might not look like that big of a deal to you, and in certain cases, it might not be a big deal at all. Now, sometimes it could be a deal. Sometimes you don't want to have any tear out. To prevent tear out, it's not that hard. All you have to do is put a scrap piece of wood underneath the piece of wood that you're desiring the hole to be in. This piece of scrap wood will support the fibers in your workpiece, and so yeah, this piece will get a little bit of a hole in it, but you don't care because it's scrap wood. And as it gets that little bit of a hole in it, it's going to help your workpiece have a much cleaner hole on the back side. Okay, as I mentioned before, you have something in the table here that's called a clearance hole. You need to make sure that that is lined up directly under your drill bit or your cutting tool. If you do have a big hole, like a deep hole, or if you have a drill bit that is larger in diameter, then you might need to, as you're cutting, cut a little bit and then back out, and then cut a little bit more and back out. A little bit each time you cut down like maybe 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, and then reverse. And as you reverse, you'll see some sawdust comes out. This is going to, relieve space, and it's going to keep the drill bit from clogging, because there are little grooves, right? If those grooves fill up with sawdust and the sawdust isn't being evacuated, it's going to cause the drill bit to slow down. It's going to cause it to heat up, and when a drill bit gets hot, it doesn't cut as well. So you need to back out from time to time to prevent your drill bit from clogging and overheating. Obviously, guys, the biggest safety thing is to keep your hands and fingers away from the area directly underneath the drill bit. So another safety thing, guys, is if you have long sleeves, if you have long hair, if you've got jewelry, necklaces, ID badges, make sure that those things are in a safe place. In my case, I'm not bending over or anything, so my ID badge was in no risk of reaching the machine, okay? If you had really long sleeves or a baggy sweater, if you've got long hair, or hair that's not tied back, if your hair is long, you just need to tie it back, okay? So just be careful of those things when you're around any machinery, but that definitely includes a drill press. I've seen some kids do some silly things with machines. Don't be one of those kids, okay? All right. Guys, at this point you should be prepared for your safety test on the drill press, so you can go over and start that.